Okay, welcome back, everybody. UFC 304, Raccoon MMA. Here we go. Really good card on the way. Finally, UFC Manchester. 303 was good, but they had to change the entire card last minute. So, you know. But yeah, let's get right into it. We got some picks for you. I had another video that I was going to put out before this, but it kind of fell through with technical difficulties, so you'll probably get it next week. But anyways, here we go. UFC 304 Raccoon picks. Welcome back to Great Britain. So we're going to start out with the MMA at Culpa. If you've watched this channel before, you'll know this is just me basically telling you how right I am likely to be. So across 84 fights picked on this channel, 54 have been correct, 1 has been a no contest. So that's a 65% accuracy if you are counting 4 fights here, which I believe to be robberies, and that would bring me up to a 70% accuracy. Now, I will not just pick a winner, I will also pick a method, i.e. decision, submission, knockout. And so if I pick the fight correctly, as I've done 42 times while picking a method, then I have a 70% chance of getting that right. So let's get right into it with some quick picks. We start out Molly McCann versus Bruna Prasil, and Christian Leroy Duncan versus Grigory Robocop Rodriguez. So Molly McCann, she's kind of fighting cans at this point. I think the UFC probably realized that she's not going to contend for a belt, and so they're giving her fights she could win against pretty good fighters, because she's usually fun when that happens. And, of course, Christian Leroy Duncan versus Grigory Rodriguez is a classic fight of, like, someone who hits hard versus someone who is good at range. Who wins that stylistic matchup. And although I really want to pick a draw for CLD versus Robocop, I am going to go with Molly McCann and Robocop to win these two matchups. Okay, let's move on to the fights that we're actually going to analyze. Manal Kape versus Muhammad Mokaev. Against all odds, it seems like this fight is actually happening. Manal Kape is actually showing up for a fight. Guys, it's a miracle. Tell your mom. This is an interesting fight, right? Kape probably wants this one to stay on the feet. Mokaev is a very solid sort of pressure wrestler, control wrestler. Kape usually on the ground works in scrambles to try and get out of situations, or he'll like throw up a submission, again, to try and stand up or to try and improve his position. Against Kape, who is, someone who will hold you down, keep you there, kind of has a big hole in his game in the sense that he doesn't really try submissions too much, and he also doesn't do a lot of ground and pound. But he's young, he's working on his game. I'm sure he will improve. And for a guy who's 23, 24, to be at this point in the division is very impressive. But I do think that Kape kind of wants to keep this on the feet, and when Mokaev wants to sort of take it down, he's going to need to strike himself into distance and things like that. And if it does go down, Kape will be trying to scramble and throw up submissions and things to get his way out. This is also an interesting fight. It may well be a title eliminator, but it's also interesting because neither guy has really shown up, right? Mokaev in his last fight did awful. And he won, but he did awful. And he then posted pictures of the inside of his toilet on Twitter to justify it. Whereas Kape has pulled out of 5 of his last 7 fights. And his last fight, he looked alright against a guy making his debut on short notice, like incredibly short notice to fight. So it's kind of this question of like, is Kape going to show up? Who knows? Is Mokaev going to show up? Probably, right? He probably wants to get back on track. It's the last fight of his contract. He needs to fight his harder on this one. And so I think this is kind of an interesting fight because both guys are probably going to try and go for it. I just don't think that Kape will to the same extent. I don't have a lot of stock in him. I think that Mokaev's striking is improving to the point where he will be able to at the very least get into distance with Manal Kape, and then he will be able to take him down and hold him there. Will he be able to do anything with that? Ground and pound submission? Who knows? He's not great at it, but Kape has been pissing him off all fight week, so maybe he's actually going to try and hurt him. In any case, I am going to pick Muhammad Mokaev, 60% chance. Okay, up the card. Paddy Pimblett versus King Green. Another good fight that people have been wanting for a long time, and these guys have been wanting for a long time. Paddy Pimblett is undefeated in the UFC. He was once a hype prospect. He is now kind of hated. He clearly didn't hire a PR manager for some time, and then he beat Tony Ferguson, who everyone likes, in a not super impressive fashion. King Green, on the other hand, is coming off a pretty fun win on UFC 300. Before that, a bad loss to Jalen Turner, and before that, he absolutely obliterated Tony Ferguson in a way that Paddy Pimblett could not. So that's kind of interesting, in the sort of head-to-head MMA math kind of way. But, beyond that, I think that this is a big step up for Paddy in terms of the competition that he's faced. King Green is a lot better at this point than Tony Ferguson, and a lot more dangerous than Tony Ferguson. It's been pointed out recently that the bad habits that have gotten Paddy into trouble before, like throwing punches with his chin straight up in the air or not really moving when he's throwing strikes, have never gone away, and there's no reason to believe that they're going to go away just because he's facing the most dangerous striker he's faced yet. Whereas King Green hits pretty hard, he hits pretty fast. He does keep his hands low, so there are opportunities for Paddy there. I don't think this is going to be a one-sided fight, but I do think that Paddy leaves his chin out too much. He doesn't really have what it takes to get King Green to the ground. He does have pretty good takedown defense. I think the fact that he was taken down and beat up easily by Islam Makhachev doesn't really tell you anything about takedown defense, because that's Islam Makhachev. And so I'm going to pick King Green. I'm pretty confident that as the fight goes on and Paddy shows the cardio issues that he has, King Green will be able to take advantage of his sloppiness, hit him with a punch, follow it up, and win by a knockout or TKO. Okay, up the card. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Arnold Allen is on a 2-fight losing streak, but it's a weird 2-fight losing streak, right? Because in his last fight, he lost what may have been a robbery. I don't have it on my list as a robbery, but it may well have been. And certainly what should have been a TKO against Mokaev that was kind of mucked up for him by the weird rules in Canada, or Ontario, who still follow the original 1999 New Jersey State Athletic Commission unified rule set. On the other, and before that, again, Max Holloway, right? He fought Max Holloway really well. He had much more success against Max Holloway than someone like Justin Gaethje did. And in fact, he had more success against Max Holloway in terms of people who lost to him than anybody in the last 5 years, right? The only people in the last 5 years who have done better against Max Holloway are Dustin Poirier and Volkanovski. Maybe Yair Rodriguez, but maybe not, right? Certainly not, in striking. So I think that Arnold Allen, I don't really consider him to be on a 2-fight losing streak in that same way. Giga Chikadze is on a 1-fight winning streak. He just beat Alex Caceres about a year ago. Before that, he took a lot of time off after losing to Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar had a brilliant performance against Giga, and since then it's gone on like a 4-fight losing streak. So, who knows, right? But Giga is a very accomplished kickboxer. He's got his famous Giga kick, which is he's very good at kicking you in the liver. He hits hard, especially for his size. Arnold Allen is also a striker. He hits really fast. I think the notable thing in this matchup is that Allen is a southpaw, which kind of does take away that Giga kick, unless Giga also switches stances, but I don't think he will. And I think this is a battle between speed and power, and also punches and kicks. And I think that usually speed beats power, especially if you have the cardio to keep that output up, which I do believe that Arnold Allen does. He's fought quite a few 5-rounders. He's gone the distance quite a few times recently, but he also does have that finishing ability. So I am going to pick Arnold Allen to beat Giga Chikadze. I'm pretty confident. I think that he probably wins by decision, though. Okay, up the card. Co-main event. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. Guys, this is a great fight. We saw this one before. It lasted 15 seconds because Tom Aspinall blew out his knee before either of them had really landed a punch. And it's interesting, right? Tom Aspinall is known for being really, really good for a heavyweight. Specifically, he's like a heavyweight who has the skills of somebody from a smaller weight class, which is kind of ridiculous for the division, but whatever, it is what it is. He's a heavyweight who fights like a welterweight. He's also really fast, right? Like, he's well-rounded, he's good everywhere, and he's the interim champ for a reason. And if you've got your eye on the game, you know that he is the real champion. Curtis Blades is the best pure wrestler in heavyweight, coming off a brilliant win over Jailton Almeida, who was beating everybody until he met Curtis Blades and got knocked out. This is an interesting fight. I think Tom Aspinall is the very big favorite for a reason, right? He's better than everyone, and he's shown that. But I think it's kind of interesting because he hasn't actually fought anyone like Curtis Blades, really. I mean, obviously he fought Curtis once and prepped for him once, but, you know, he's fought 3 high-level guys, right? He fought Sergey Pavlovich to win the interim belt, and he went basically chin for chin with the guy and won. He fought Volkov, very good striker, and he basically took him down and submitted him because Volkov doesn't have a great ground game. And he fought Curtis Blades, and that fight didn't happen because he blew out his knee 15 seconds in, right? Whereas Curtis has been in there with everyone, he's been around forever. And we also, the interesting thing is that Tom Aspinall has never gone past the second round. I think his average fight time is less than 2 minutes. Whereas Curtis Blades, we've seen him go 25 minutes, and we know he can. We've also never seen Tom Aspinall get wrestled in the sense of like being put on his back and having to figure his way out of that situation. So I think that the way that Curtis wins this is by slowing the fight down early, gassing, like making Tom like lose his speed edge by like clinching and maybe like trying to take him down even if that doesn't work, like really slowing down the fight, taking it to those later rounds, and then putting him on his back, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Tom Aspinall is just too good on the feet for Curtis. He's too fast. And I think that he's going to have decent, like good enough jiu-jitsu and grappling in general to get up even, or submit Curtis, even if he is taken down. So I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall, even though I think that you shouldn't count Curtis Blades out. And I really like both guys. I don't want either of them to lose. I am going to pick Tom Aspinall by finish. And if I have to pick a finish, I'm going to say a knockout or technical knockout. And I'm pretty confident in that. Finally, our main event. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Another good fight. Maybe. Right? Leon Edwards is very famous for having boring fights. I think he's threw 57 significant strikes against Colby Covington. Belal Muhammad has a reputation for having boring fights, but he doesn't really. He just goes to decision a lot. Belal is one of MMA's best pressure fighters. He will push you up against the fence. I mean, his nickname Bully really works. Because, he pushes you up against the fence, and he hits you, and he pressures you, and he clinches with you, and he just grinds you down and gasses you out and takes you to decision. Both of them have only one finish in recent memory. Belal finished Sean Brady, who was like a 15-0 super hype prospect. Leon got that amazing knockout over Kamaru Usman after losing 24.5 minutes of that fight. And I think that this is a more competitive fight than people think it is, right? People think, well, Leon's really, really good, because he is. And Belal is just getting this title shot because he's on a big streak. And he's not actually that good. But, and then they see the way that the first fight went, where Leon beat Belal up for a round and then poked him in the eye and the fight stopped. But I think that, first of all, Belal is a lot better than he was back then, whereas Leon is not. But I think that there are specific ways that Belal can win this fight. I don't think you should count him out, right? Because Leon, we've all seen the way he just fades as the fight goes on. His first round is always pretty good, and then he just goes downhill, 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 right? He almost fumbled the entire fight against Colby Covington, which is ridiculous. He lost like crazy against Kamaru Usman. Granted, the second fight, he did really well. He won 3 rounds to 2. But I think that Belal, as like a cardio fighter, as someone who can push the pace, he'll lose the first round. Maybe he'll lose the first round badly, but he will then come back, and he'll stay in Leon's face the whole time. Especially because Leon just doesn't throw punches or kicks. Like, he hits hard when you do, but who knows, right? And so it's like, I do think that Leon should be the favorite in this, But I don't think you should count Belal out because I think that all the problems that Leon has with his game, Belal is perfectly built to exploit. With that said, Leon hits hard, and he's very good everywhere. I don't think the Belal's going to be able to take him down. I don't think the Belal's going to be able to, beat him in exchanges. I think that really what he's got is his cardio, and it's just that question of Belal just kind of fights like Kamaru Usman. Obviously they're different. Belal's got a bit more volume. Usman has a bit more takedown threat, but especially with the crowd on side, and I don't know who's gonna ref Leon, but he always gets away with cheating to avoid takedowns. Grabbing the fence. So I don't think that Belal is going to beat him, but I think he certainly can. I think this is a much more competitive fight than people think, so I'm going to pick Leon Edwards. Narrowly, I think, wins this by decision, because Leon is not finishing anybody. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you guys very much for watching. Subscribe if you like the video. Like the video if you like the video. Comment, tell me your picks. Tell me, do you agree? Do you disagree? Who knows? Alright, thank you guys so much for watching.